I'd like to call the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting for the Village of Ashwaubenon to order for Tuesday, June 18th. Roll call, please.
Mark Williams,
Here.
John Doska,
Present.
Tom Selk,
Here.
Mike Milczewski,
Here.
and Zerbals excused.
Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have no changes to the agenda. Is anybody else? If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to
moved.
approve. Second.
A motion and a second. Take your choice. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Action on the minutes from the Finance and Personnel Committee regular meeting of April 16th.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
And a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Comments from the public. There is no public here this evening, so we'll just keep moving on to action item 7A. Action on tax collection agreement between Brown County and the Village of Ashwaubenon. Greg.
So the Brown County is responsible for, and has been collecting taxes on behalf of the village since, I believe, 2012. So when we moved over there. So during the tax season, after the budget's done, we produce our tax rate. I will then put that through a bunch of paperwork that the county provides. We send it to them, they enter it into the system, send the tax bills out, and then people come and pay. They have since, I believe this is the third year where they have an agreement in place, just kind of spelling out the details of that, and it works very well for us. They hold cash, give us certain times where they give us a cash back, and then we do all the tax settlements that we normally do. So it just is something they came up with, and it's basically the same as it's been in years past. So we would like to continue doing that and let them collect the taxes on behalf of the village.
Mr. Clerk, did you have anything to add to that? Treasurer?
Ditto.
Treasurer? Ditto?
No, it's pretty standard from last year to this year, and the years, the whole system works quite well.
Anybody got any questions?
What, if anything, do they charge us for that?
We pay the postage when they send out the tax bills, and there is no...
Which you would have had anyway.
Correct, right. So there was, it got a little gray a couple years ago. The county had just basically put something out to all the municipalities that they were going to bill us, charge us. And it was the first we heard of it. Nobody had it in their budgets. There was a little bit of an outcry. And so then they went to this agreement, and they have since been trying to, it's not to point fingers, but really coming out of the treasurer's office, and been trying to add more cost, or the other thing was not give us our cash quicker. So they were collecting interest.
Sure.
And so we had this year, we had to go back to them and say, you can't, they weren't going to give us any cash in the current year, which would actually hurt our financials, and then we're losing interest, so they put it back in. So we're just real cautious with that, but they don't charge us anything they'd like to. They wanted to charge us some rate per bill, and then when we had a discussion with them, I basically pointed out, I said, you realize that I'm doing a lot of work to create your portion of our tax bill too, so it's a two-way street. There's work being done on both sides, and kind of calm things down, but that's really the only charge is the postage.
Okay. Well, and again, that's a cost you would have had
Right,
regardless.
exactly. Right.
So, okay.
Any other questions? We get a motion on this?
Move to accept.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
No.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. May 2019 General Fund financials.
Before you are the year-to-date May financials for the general fund. Again, it's a bit of a broken record early in the year. A lot of things are in timing and try to adjust budget accordingly, but for the most part, we're in line with the budget. The couple watchouts that I pointed out, we had a lot of snow, obviously, early in the year. that could smooth itself out. And it seems like typically we don't have as much late fall, early winter snow more than we're having this, midwinter stuff. So just that's more of a watch out right now. That could be a potential overrun in that area. And I know the guys do attempt to flex hours a bit to minimize some of the overtime impact, but obviously depending on how that snow comes, sometimes there's not many options. Otherwise, we have a lot of moving parts in public safety with attrition right now, so there's savings that come in through there. Otherwise, utilities, pretty much everything else is coming in online. We should have more positive variance in our interest income. The rates are continuing rising. So right now, for example, I believe we're sitting at about 120,000 of interest, and we budgeted 200 on the year. So 5 months at 120. We should, but there's a lot of year left and a lot of that could happen with rates and things like that. So, and that's just basically our checking and just the investment account, really. So I mentioned last time, and we'll get into it a little bit with the investment update later, but that could continue to rise a little bit more yet as the year goes along. But overall, I think we're in line. Nothing surprising through here. There are some timing delays in there. I think I noted them in the financials.
I'm glad you've noted those because it made it a lot easier. Those are the ones we had questions on. Whoop, there's the answer.
Yep.
Thank you for putting that in.
Yes, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Comments? Wonderful. Okay, we'll move on to the financial institutions.
Need a motion to that?
No,
No,
permissional only.
So I think the next three they're all kind of interrelated, if you will. I've kept them separate items. So I had, is it investment policy update? Is the next one, I believe. So, John, thank you, because this is really, your question led to this change. When I read, you had asked me about a list of financial institutions based on the policy, and I went back and read through it, and I think I'd mentioned to you last time, the policy that's put together, a lot of our policies, the state of Wisconsin, there's a National Government Finance Officers Association, the GFOA, then there's a Wisconsin GFOA. A lot of communities and finance directors, we kind of use a standard boilerplate language, if you will. Well, part of that, when I went back and read through there, I'm like, boy, I'm really making more work for myself than I need. There was a lot of questions on, are we qualifying every possible institution? Basically, what I was reading is, any institution that we're saying we would do business with, each year I would have to verify their financials and make sure they have blah, 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 blah. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do that because we should do that at the time of an RFP. So once we've established our banking relationship, in this case it's Associated Bank, then I would just keep them up to date. It doesn't make sense to do Bank ABC down the street if we don't even do business with them.
right.
So I kind of modified it to basically back to any bank that has presence within the village would qualify for future business in some way or shape or form. And then if we determined to do that, we would review financials through an RFP process. And that's part of that RFP process is verifying that they can handle our assets, they can collateralize all of our money, all those things that go into that. And then also if we were to go out and do any kind of CD, for example, or with another bank, they had really good rates, that would be a time where we would do a quick review to make sure that they're a credible bank or business within the village. So I updated the policy with that, and I gave you what the policy changes were. I believe you had a redlined list in there, and it was really to do that because when I read through it again, it was, boy, there's a lot of stuff in here that it doesn't make sense for me to go review financials for 9 banks that we don't even do business with. So I hope that's okay as far as updating that policy, but I wanted to provide that for you. If you have any questions on that.
Now, and I'm assuming that when you use the word bank, you're using it generically, because, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is having done some work with a credit union in my past history, there was a real sensitivity between the word bank and credit union and the way the institutions looked upon that terminology. So
Correct.
what you're talking bank is a generic form which would include banks, credit unions.
Correct. And I've tried to use the language I've tried to say financial institution
Yeah.
within the policy. But yes, and really times have changed. There was a time where the WGFOA didn't recommend credit unions.
Right.
But they've changed, things have changed over time, and they're just as viable. So yes, the next time we go out, there are one or two within the village that would be a good option with an RFP process as well.
So as I read this, the board does not review or approve of financial institutions?
My understanding is that within the policy, this particular bullet point we're talking about is just the update on the policy. The next list was the way that language was written was that I would just provide you a list for review versus you approving or disapproving it. Certainly, if there's something you're aware of or it would come to my attention, I think we could look at that. I may need to check with legal to verify that it should be approved or not approved.
When I stated it wrong when I listed it, so we went back to C.
But it's eliminated the recommendation of village board is the last sentence.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. The last sentence says, the finance committee, qualifying institutions for the finance committee for its review, and then it's crossed off, and recommendations of village board to approve.
Even
Last
that,
sentence of
Yeah.
page 31.
oh, you're on 31 of the, okay.
7CB.
Oops.
very last sentence.
Very last, yeah.
Says on an annual basis,
Yes. On an annual basis, the finance director shall present a list of these qualified institutions to the finance and personnel committee for its review. And that's the standard boilerplate language, right? My understanding is, and I don't personally care, that you do or don't approve them, it's just the list.
But Tom's point was that it doesn't have to go to village board.
Correct. Do you want it to go to board?
I'm wondering.
Well, I
almost
don't
think
know.
it should.
Okay. I mean, I can
My
modify,
opinion- my
I can
opinion is that it
update
should.
that. If that's your preference, I can update that and bring it to the board.
I would,
I was
would
going to
be my
bring this to the board
suggestion,
next
because
week
that-
anyway.
again, it's another protection for you.
Sure.
Because the board approved it. That's where I'm going.
Has the board approved it in the past?
I don't know.
Well, it should have, because the language was in the policy saying that
I
they
don't
should approve
remember. I
it.
mean, we go through so many different things that,
Yeah.
I can add that. I'll verify with Tony, or with legal, that there's no, I'd be surprised if there's any preference or ruling either way. I will add a line in there that says, and to village board for approval.
just like it was, I mean, it's
Well,
just crossed off.
Okay, I'm sorry if
now.
I didn't,
Well, and not only does it protect you, it protects the citizens of the village, because theoretically, how many people are on the board, Mark?
7.
7? There's another 7 sets of eyes looking at it.
right, okay. I'll put that back in. I didn't mean to
Thank
take
you.
that out. No, that's fine. So the next, I don't know how you want to,
Well, do we want to approve this policy and send it to village board first with modifications?
Sure, I'll make that a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve the updated policy with the modification we just recommended to the village board. A motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That leads us to the financial institutions.
so as it says, I would provide a list. The challenge here is, short of me driving through the village, businesses come and go. I think I have them all. It is not my intention to miss anybody. And there have been some recent changes with a few new banks coming in, and some that are relatively new that are now being bought out. So it's a constant moving piece.
Yep.
So when we do an RFP, it does get broadcast out there, and my understanding from other banks is they know when there's an RFP. And because we last time we did one, we had banks from out a little bit outside of the community, out even like Luxembourg area wanting to compete. So I did provide the best I could. I kind of Googled it and did a satellite map and tried to find anything that would pop up. If there's anything missing that you'd like to add in there, that's fine. But that's just a list of basically every bank that has a branch within the village.
A physical presence.
Correct. Right, financial institution within the village.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so based on our previous motion, I would recommend also for us to approve this to send to village board as well.
I would agree.
So I would take a motion to approve the list as presented and refer to village board.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Do you do business with all of these?
No, we do not. We do business with Associated Bank. That's who handles our day-to-day operational needs. And we do have one CD out with Nicolay. It's a long-standing, it used to be at Bay Lake Bank, or, no, the one that was on Hanson across from Culver's. They're not the name anymore. But-
Investors, I think it's
but-
investors.
Nicolay bought them out.
Yeah,
Nicolay bought them out. That's a different bank now in that location, but at the
Right, yeah.
time, yeah. So that's, the sewer utility has it. Otherwise, no, we do not have any other business operations with any other financial institutions.
okay.
But that's not to say we couldn't, so, but
Yeah,
we
right.
just don't.
Okay. Any
Thank
other
you.
discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We'll move on to investment update.
So I gave you a lot of information, and really, the idea was to walk through a couple different things. John, you had asked if you could see a list of the types of investments, and then so I provided you that. That's kind of the list of all the different municipal bonds and types of investments that are in our investment portfolio. So this is different than our day-to-day banking relationship, checking, savings account type stuff. This is in a relationship we have with Associated Trust Company, and where we've put a set aside of money and they're investing those funds. So there's a lot of different municipal bonds, no different than when we go to bond, we sell our bonds, just like we sold, the CDA sold the bonds for the new Expo Hall, and then people buy community bonds. So that's a list there that's out there. And then I gave you, it's a one sheet, it's got 3 different tables on it. Those are tables that are in the CAFR on an annual basis. Those are the unaudited numbers, but I would not expect those to change simply because they're a snapshot of point in time. That's what they are. Different, the credit types, the maturities, and the security ratings on those. And so they get, Associated Trust has a copy of our investment policy, and I'll give them an updated one, and then they manage that portfolio based on any of the rules that we have within our policy as well. So those are the 3 tables that are in our CAFR, which is the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. It's a government term for annual report. And then I also provided you kind of where we're at today with our investments. And right now, we're seeing the rates continue to grow. May was 5.28%. January is 1.17. Our year-to-date rate of return is just under 3% on a general fund. The utility fund is just a little bit less than all those numbers, but doing very well. We should continue to see improvement a little bit. At some point it plateaus, but it's a little bit delayed because you have bonds coming on and off. So the stuff that's coming off now is at lower interest rates, maturing, stuff that was purchased a couple of years ago, and then you have newer, higher rate investments coming on. So that's just kind of where we're at today. That's part of why we're seeing more interest income coming in this year than maybe we had planned. So I don't foresee that changing. I certainly don't see rates going down. I could see things leveling off at some point. But overall, it's been working really well. if you have any questions on any of that information.
Do we have, if anything that comes due, is the expo something that we would invest in? Because it sounds like from Baird that they were selling very, very, very well.
I did not check to see. I don't know if they did buy anything. I don't know if you would want to buy your own stuff. So I can check in that. I don't know the answer to that. I just know that they sold fairly well. I have a personal friend of mine who's an investment advisor, and he was talking about all the all the bonds he sold for that as well. So it was a hot demand for that.
I guess it is our bonds when you really think about it, because it's a CDA and it's not Brown County, but Brown County is the guarantor on them, so.
Correct. I mean,
That's-
right, there are, isn't that, it's the village's CDA. CDA, just so you know, financially is never merged with governmental funds. It's its own separate entity, but yeah, it's the village CDA.
Right. Any questions?
What's the difference between having an investment portfolio fair value as of December 31st? It's on page 42, but it has level 1 and level 2. What does that mean? Fair value measurement.
So I put in the investment update. Level 1 inputs are quoted prices in active markets for identical assets, and level 2 inputs are significant observable inputs. And level 3 are significant unobservable inputs, and I was hoping you wouldn't ask that question, so I will ask that question and get back to you next meeting. That is not my area of expertise. That's why we hire these people. I think it's I'm guessing, I didn't get a hold of Pat, but I'm guessing that it's because there were a lot of changes when that chart came into the CAFR around 2010, which was a lot of Dodd-Frank and a lot of weird changes in rules, and it's investor lingo. So if you're an investor or you're big on the market and selling, you would know what that means. Level 1 would be more, I know this, level 1 is more secure. And then, and then level 3 would be less secure, not meaning that it's risky, it's just not as secure as level 1. And just based on language, significant unobservable inputs. So I can get an answer to that question and bring it to the next committee meeting. Those are things the auditors pull together. Some of these things the auditors will work directly with the investment company on getting that information.
Okay. Any other questions? Wonderful. Thank you very much. We don't need to do anything with that either, correct?
That's just an update.
Okay, we'll move on to 7F, annual distribution of public officials and employees code of ethics. It's something we do every year as part of our municipal code, and attached is a copy of it. We just ask that you make sure you read it and follow it, and all that kind of good stuff. Items for next agenda. Just so everyone knows, John and I have been working on some of the questions you had to ask about the Booyah Stadium, and we're working through that, and we'll bring it back when we have everything ready.
I will have, what is it, June? So next month, I would have, the only thing I would have is a budget timeline, kind of the dates, the key dates, which really is the same pretty much format every year, but that's all I would have at this point.
Okay. We have anything further, we'll, if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to see, make sure you contact one of us, and we'll make sure we get it on there. And we have everything ready, otherwise, go from there. If nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you very much.